Well, first of all, thank you both so much for talking to us under these unbelievable circumstances, these tragic circumstances that one cannot begin to process unless they're actually going through what you're going through. Yair, many people have compared October 7th to Israel's version of 9/11, possibly even worse given the population ratio. First of all, would you agree with that? And secondly, just give us your story about that day on October 7th.
Yeah, I think you can easily compare it to 9/11 because of, first of all, the amount of people that were killed on that day. And also, actually, if you talk about ratio, so my kibbutz, for example, Kibbutz Be'eri, has a population of 1,200 people. And from that number, there are around 90 people or more that are dead now, got murdered. And 20, 30 people who were kidnapped. Some of them are already back with us, some still in Gaza. So I think, yeah, you can compare it to any major terror act in history. My personal history that I was in Kibbutz Be'eri on October 7th on 6:30 a.m. I woke up from the sound of explosions. Now I know that these were Iron Dome, IDF Iron Dome missiles intercepting Hamas rockets that are fired towards Israel, not only to my area, but also to other areas in Israel. I quickly went out to see what is going on, and the first thing I thought was like, what happened? Who did we kill? Which Hamas leader did we kill today that we deserve this? And it's sad to say, but we are already used to rockets fired at us from Gaza, so it's kind of absurd. But I didn't get really excited by it. But the amount of rockets that day were something else. So you can feel something else is happening. And pretty soon after that, about half an hour after that, there was a message in the chat of the kibbutz, in the WhatsApp groups, please everybody go to the safe rooms and stay there. And you thought, okay, it will be something fast. They will tell us to that we can go out soon, but no such message came to us. And instead of that, we started to hear voices in the WhatsApp groups of people crying for help, locked in their houses, locked in their safe rooms in the house, saying that the terrorists are there, that their house is burning, that they hear screaming from the other house, that the terrorists are stealing cars, killing people, burning houses, terrorists in their houses. You hear people crying for help from their burnt house. They're in the safe room, and the terrorists setting the house on fire. And the same person is crying for help for again and again, every 5 minutes a message. And after that, after 2 hours, it gets silent. So you know that person is either dead or kidnapped or both. I was in my safe room. First I was hiding under the bed. I thought that was my strategy to make it look like no one is at home. I left the door open and I went under the bed, and then I changed it. I locked the door and I kind of held the handle. Around noontime, my sister sent me a message that she's getting kidnapped. They're kidnapping her. I don't know how she sent a message. She probably had it ready already on the phone, and she just sent it. But from that time, I didn't know anything about her for like 3 weeks. At first, we thought they're dead because there was no information. But after 3 weeks, we kind of got the information that they're in Gaza. I was rescued from my safe room around 9 p.m. So I was in the safe room for around 14 hours. By the way, in that stage, the fighting in the kibbutz was still going on. It went on for 2 days. There were still terrorists hiding inside buildings, beneath buildings. The Israeli IDF had to bring tanks and D9s to go over these buildings and just bomb all of these buildings. Many buildings are destroyed actually because of the IDF had to demolish them because there are terrorists under them, so they had to take them down on the terrorists. And now what you see now in the kibbutz is chaos. Many burnt houses, many bombed houses, bullets everywhere. It's hell.
Were you in the same kibbutz as your niece and sister that morning?
Yes, we are both from Kibbutz Be'eri. I have another sister living in another house. She's also okay. She was afraid that her house will set on fire because the next door house was on fire and it's pretty close to her, and there is a tree in the middle. So she just ran to some neighbor's house, and luckily her house didn't get on fire. But anyway, she was in a neighbor's house, and when we got there later, we saw that her windows started to melt. So it wasn't far from the fire wasn't far from getting to her house.
Did you think you would ever see them again?
Yes, I have the hope. I had the hope that I will see them again. Otherwise, I will not fight for their release.
Yair, can you talk about that day for you? Your mom and your father were both abducted.
First, what you talk about 9/11, so I think it's not underestimating 9/11, which is a terrible event for all the world, not just for the US, but I think both from the magnitude of the relation, the number of people that were killed, but also the other horrors that happened here in Israel were much, much worse. People were kidnapped, many women were raped, brutally killed, not just mutilated, not just people died, which is horrible by itself and terrible, but I think that this is the trauma from this event is very, very big and I think for all the world again. So yes, my story on October 7th, I was in my house, and I'm not living near the border, but like most of Israel people, I woke up to the sirens, went to the safe room in my house, and after a few minutes, called my parents, said they're okay. Both said to me, yeah, we are okay. We are in the safe room, everything okay. And we started to watch the news, and slowly, we heard more. We saw some in the news that terrorists are inside Israel. We heard more, started to hear rumors that they're inside the kibbutz Nir Oz. And around 9:30, we started to hear that maybe that we know for sure that they're in the kibbutz. And then someone told me, there are rumors that your father was taken. Later realized that his partner, Efrat, was able to send a message that he was taken, because when the terrorists went inside his house, he left the safe room and sacrificed himself, so Efrat and daughter and two granddaughters will be saved. And they told them, I'm the only one here. He didn't even realize what happened. He just gave them money and the car keys. He thought this is what they want. They took it, and then they took him with them. And then it was quiet. And then Efrat thought they're going to be okay. Unfortunately, later, others came and took them. Efrat was murdered, and her body was found in the fields on the way to Gaza a few days later. And her daughter, Doron, and two granddaughters, Az and Aviv, were also taken to Gaza and released after 49 days. My mother was in her house, and she couldn't hold the safe room door, so the minute she got in, they opened the door and told her, you need to come with us. And when she was taking from the house, she managed to she have a device that helped her to breathe while she's sleeping, because she knew she cannot sleep without it. She held to it with all her power, all the way to Gaza. And when they arrived, the entrance to the tunnel, they took it from her, even though they knew that she cannot sleep without it. They knew it very well, they understood what it means for her. But they took it from her, and then they put it underground. She was underground 49 days until she was released. And on this time, all she could do for sleeping is sitting on a chair and put her back to the wall and try to sleep like this. She barely slept, only a few minutes each time when she collapsed, and that's it, because she couldn't sleep like this. Underground, there was no air, very little water, very little hygiene, and no food. Small amount of medicine, which diminished as time went by. But lucky for us, she survived and was released after 49 days.
And you said the last time you saw your father was via video on December 19th, and you said that he looked 10 years older, I think?
Yes. The first sign of life of being kidnapped was a picture that was published on New York Times on Tuesday after that Saturday, when we just saw a picture of him taken by the terrorist, and it says his name, taken from Nir Oz, all the details, and you identified it's him. And the next sign of life was, like you said, on December 19, we saw a video. He's speaking army activities, word that you hear that it's his voice, but not his words. Said that all what IDF is doing is to harm the hostages, and must have a deal immediately in order to release them. Something like this. It's not what he said, because you understand. If you heard that voice, you saw him alive. It was the first and only sign of life we have. We don't know when it was taken, but we know in some part in the way he was alive. But like you said, he looks thin, 10 years older, looks exhausted, and even since then, already 4 weeks passed. So yes, we are worried, and we don't know how he is now.
Yeah, here's something that you said yesterday that has not been able to escape my mind, is that you knew 90 people killed in your kibbutz. It's hard to wrap your head around that. Can you even begin to describe? You said the funerals were infinite, and can you just talk about that? What that's like? Because it's hard to even come up with the questions or something like that.
So kibbutz, people have to understand, it's a very close community. I grew up there. I knew every one of the people living there. So when I say 90 people die, it means 90 people that I personally know. It starts from little baby, 9-month or 10-month-old, that was shot in her mother's arms through the door of the safe room. And also old people, 80, 90-year-old people. Of course, some people we knew that are dead that day because people saw them dead, and some people were still missing. We didn't know what is going on. So when DNA evidence started to come of who died and who not, we started to bury our dead people, and because there are so many funerals in such a short time, you had to make a selection which funeral you're going to attend that day. So I had friends that I couldn't attend their funeral because I had to choose another friend or geographic location. It was very hard, and actually we have more than 90 people died now.
From Kibbutz Nir Oz, where I was born and raised, 170 people were murdered or abducted on that Saturday. I knew about 80% of them because I didn't know the newcomers or little babies, but little children. But most of them I knew. It's 2 friends of mine that I grew up with from infancy were murdered that Saturday. My friend's father was murdered. Other people were abducted. So from Kibbutz Nir Oz, which is a very small community, only 400 people, 40 people were murdered that Saturday. Another 9 people were kidnapped but announced dead. Their bodies were taken. And 40 people were already released, and another 28 are still in captivity. My father is one of them, and many others. So the numbers are, and like you said, kibbutz it's more than a community, it's a family. You know them all. It's your friend, your teacher, your coworker, someone that was, you meet them all the time, and you care about each one of them.
Let's talk about some positive news. You both were able to reunite with family members. For you were able to reunite with your sister and your niece. Talk about how you found out the news, and then that moment when your niece ran into your arms.
Maybe 3 weeks after October 7th, we got the news that my sister and my niece are held in Gaza. We were told that they are alive. We didn't know in what state. You know, this is news that we got for one time. We didn't know what happened to them day after, a week after, or a month after. So when we heard about the ceasefire, of course, we knew that there are going to be kids and parents be released. So we thought, okay, if they're alive, we're going to get both of them, most probably. We hope that the ceasefire will be long enough so there will be no problems in the middle. And every day that you wait for your loved ones' names to be read on the list, you know, it's very hard to take. It's very tense. Every day you wait for that. And the first day we didn't have them on the list, so we were kind of sad. But we were optimistic. And on the second day we had Hila on the list. Hila and her friend Emily Hand that was sleeping over at the house on that Saturday. So they were on the list to be released. But my sister, Hila's mother, was not on the list. And this was weird because we knew that the agreement says that you don't separate children from their mothers. So the fact that Aya wasn't on the list, my sister, made us think that maybe something happened to her. And that was really hard to take. We fought for that. We hoped that she would be on the list, but she wasn't. Hamas didn't really give the reason for that.